But because he's white and from a working class background, the British political elite labelled him a far-right thug. Ali Dawa, who said he would marry off his 9-year-old daughter if she menstruated.
You asked me, would I allow my daughter to get married at 9? If my daughter reached the age of menstruation at 9 years old, I would say, you are ready to get married.
Check out these glorious British Muslims openly saying that the non-Muslims of Britain are their enemies and the Muslims hate them.
It is from our religion that we have to hate them for the sake of Allah.
Let's not beat around the bush. We don't love each other. We're not on the same page. We are not friends. Does that make sense? We are enemies.
What do they do instead? They put them in hotels. They give them 3 meals a day. All the while, 309,000 homeless British people are sleeping rough. And they wonder why people are angry. All right, folks, this is Sultan. And there is a question that is being asked quite a lot. Not just by the public, but even within the political elite. Why are these people so angry? They're angry everywhere. Just yesterday, 3 Moroccan migrants killed a Spaniard and 1,000 Spaniards surrounded a mosque and protested. The same thing is happening in France and of course in Britain. So where did we go wrong? Yes, I understand that Keir Starmer publicly holds the view that it's just the yobs, the working class people who are far right.
So no, I won't shy away from calling it what it is. Far-right thuggery.
Essentially, he's lumped everyone into this contemptuous, dreaded category, the far right. YouGov's own polls suggest that 56% of the British public believes that the more migrants we have, the more crime we have. So is 56% of the British public far-right thugs or racists? Of course, if you and I can figure that out, so can they. They know that the problem is far bigger than this fringe element they try to pin it on. So what's happening? What do you think they're doing? How do you think they're going to resolve this? They're still very cautious. For example, a couple of statements that have come out of the Home Office that are somewhat encouraging, yet maybe discouraging. I don't know yet. For instance, they've just said that a strong legislation is needed for extremely misogynistic people. Take Andrew Tate, for example. They're worried about Andrew Tate. Look, I've always pushed back on his content and rhetoric, but he is a very popular man. The only way to curb his influence is not by shutting him down or silencing him. I mean, sure, that could have worked, but it didn't. He became more popular when YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everyone removed him. He became the most Googled person after they took away his social media profiles. The only way to shut down these people is by allowing more free speech or maybe supporting influencers who counter Andrew Tate's narrative or refute it. And that can be done. This is what Islamists thought. They believed that they could fool the gullible Western audience by wishy-washy teachings of Islam. People like us came out and started refuting them. And today, everyone knows that Prophet Muhammad married a 9-year-old girl. People are no longer interested in the so-called good elements of Islam. They're asking, hang on a second, what about the sex slavery in Islam? What about the wife beating? What about the pedophilia in Islam? People are more educated now, thanks to social media and ex-Muslim activists, or even activists like Tommy Robinson, who educated himself on Islam. This video is not about Tommy Robinson, but I'll say it again. Tommy Robinson has said nothing about Islam that us ex-Muslims haven't already said. If anything, he said less about Islam, while we ex-Muslim activists have said a lot more. But because he's white and from a working class background, the British political elite labelled him a far-right thug. And even some ex-Muslims hate him, despite him doing exactly what they themselves are doing. But anyway, that's besides the point. They're going after Andrew Tate, saying they need stronger legislation and custodial sentences for misogynistic rhetoric. Okay, I don't think that's a good idea, but if you apply that across the board, then fine. If you apply it to Muhammad Hijab and Ali Dawa, who said he would marry off his 9-year-old daughter if she menstruated.
You asked me, would I allow my daughter to get married at 9? If my daughter reached the age of menstruation at 9 years old, I would say you are ready. You are ready to get married.
He made a video where his wife was communicating with him through a whiteboard because he didn't want the public to hear her voice.
I have my wife on my right. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you well, inshallah. She's not going to be in the video, but she's going to have her say with this whiteboard that I bought her. But why is the default that the woman is innocent and the man is always guilty? Okay, that's something my wife wants to say. Salama probably had enough as women give out give a lot of chances, has zero tolerance now.
Are you going to apply the same misogynistic laws on him? Are you going to arrest someone who glorifies FGM?
It is the consensus of all scholars that female circumcision is sunnah.
By the way, the BBC interviewed this guy and referred to him as a respectable imam. Shouldn't the BBC also be prosecuted under this new anti-misogyny legislation? They're clearly referring to someone who supports and glorifies FGM as a respectable imam. So I don't think so. If you're just going to introduce new legislations and apply them selectively whenever you see fit, then you're going to antagonize the public even more. They've also said that they're going to ban hateful views. Okay, are you going to ban Islamists as well? Check out these glorious British Muslims openly saying that the non-Muslims of Britain are their enemies and the Muslims hate them. Check it out.
It is from our religion that we have to hate them for the sake of Allah. We love what Allah loves, and on the opposite of that, we hate what Allah hates. Does Allah hate shirk? Yes.
Al-adawa, enmity and hatred, meaning we're enemies. Let's not beat around the bush. We don't love each other. We're not on the same page. We are not friends. Does that make sense? We are enemies.
Or are you just going to say that anyone who speaks against Islam or against the bad behavior of Muslims is hateful and therefore we're going to put them in prison? I think that's what you're going to do. I think this is the direction they're heading, but it's not going to work. It's going to antagonize the public even more. Let me look at it from another angle. Maybe they don't want to name Muslims per se because they don't want to be accused of racism. Because Turkey and Pakistan and all these other Muslim countries, their media showed Britain as a racist Islamophobic country when those two Manchester criminals, Muslim criminals who beat up the police, who broke a female police officer's nose, they weren't interested in the context of the video. They just said, oh, British police, Islamophobia. So they've seen that the Muslim world is going to accuse Britain of being Islamophobic and racist. So maybe that's why they're cautious and won't actually name them, but are going after them behind the scenes. I'll believe it when I see a shift in the tone of Muhammad Hijab or Dilli Hussain or Ali Dawa. But instead, we keep seeing these guys getting more emboldened in their inflammatory and provocative speech.
How can we, re-establish the Khilafah again?
So there are three methods, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Our brothers from Hizb ut-Tahrir who believe you do some grassroots dawah, you awaken the community, you awaken the ummah, but really you seek power from a select group of elite who will give you nusra, and then you do maybe something like, but not restricted to a military coup, takeover, done.
Yeah.
Then you have our brothers who, I don't like this term, they are what you would call from the jihadi spectrum. They say that no, we cannot seek nusra because they are taghut and the army are taghut, we have to take it by force.
This dildo even went to Afghanistan and was glorifying them a few days ago. The Taliban, who have just banned the sound of women. Yes, not only they have to wear these bin bags, but they can't even be heard in public. Kind of like what Ali Dawa does. This is why he uses a whiteboard to communicate, because he doesn't want the public to hear his wife's voice. No caution given by the British police to this Dilli Hussain guy. So forgive me if I think that this is all an eyewash. This is why I believe that these new steps from the Home Office about banning misogynistic and hateful content are just another attack on Islam critics and other dissidents. People who are genuinely concerned about the welfare and prosperity of Great Britain. People who see that the migrant crisis is getting out of hand and crime is increasing. For the most part, you can blame illegal migrants. That's what it is. Look at the increased rape rates in England. The UK government is too scared to even record the criminals' immigration status. Fortunately, we have some idea about increased rape by migrants in Germany by the data published by the German government. Have a look at this damning statistic. Afghans and Africans make up less than 2% of the German population, yet they're responsible for 34% of the rapes of German women. Proportionally speaking, Afghans and Africans are 40 times more likely to be involved in rapes and gang rapes of German women. I mean, nobody signed up for this when they said, okay, we'll look after these people coming from a war zone. Why are they so soft on these migrants? It beats me. The UK government's own website says people who enter illegally will be subject to a lifetime re-entry, citizenship and permanent residence ban. That's what the UK government's website says, as per the Immigration Act of 1971. But what do they do instead? They put them in hotels. They give them 3 meals a day. All the while, 309,000 homeless British people are sleeping rough. And they wonder why people are angry. This tells me that the UK government itself is not respecting its own laws. Yet they're asking the world and ordinary people to respect whatever vague laws they introduce. They are arresting people for saying who the is Allah. They're arresting army veterans who show up at protests. They're arresting women, mothers for aggressively gesturing towards the police. But on the other hand, they're breaking their own law. They should be deporting these people. People who enter without a valid visa, people who turn up without a passport, they need to be deported as per the UK's own laws. And I keep saying it. This is a slap in the face of all those people who fill out the forms, who stand in the queues to try to enter Britain legally. It's a slap in their faces. Well, they know that it's a problem. But the question is, are they going to do anything about it? They know that the public is close to a breaking point. Just yesterday, Yvette Cooper said that she will deport 14,500 illegal migrants within the next 6 months, a pace never seen since Theresa May. The Telegraph published a detailed government plan to implement this new action, but the public, including me, is very skeptical. Can you blame us? This is why the public thinks that the country's broken. And I get really passionate about it because just in my last video, I showed you how what's happening in Britain is exactly the same template being applied here in Australia. The Labour Party of Australia won the election, circumvented their own legal procedure by giving tourist visas to Gazan refugees, knowing full well they were refugees, but they gave them tourist visas. Why? You see how clever they are? You see how manipulative they are? They manipulate their own system. I just don't understand why would these politicians be so hell-bent on destroying their own beautiful countries? Are they going to move to Mars themselves? What do they think is going to happen when Islamists fully take over? They've already taken over parts of Britain and France and Germany and Canada. Look at the state of London. They've had hundreds of protests in the last 10 months, chanting anti-Semitic slogans, calling for jihad, disrespecting British symbols, supporting the Houthis, who've been attacking British vessels. I always held the view that the greatest civilization known to mankind, Western civilization, could not just roll over and die. Outside armies could not conquer it. America is the greatest superpower, and as long as America remains a superpower, nobody can destroy the free world. So, you can't destroy it from the outside, but you can certainly do it from the inside.
America is the cancer. America, the American government, secularism, democracy, capitalism, these are cancers that have spread their illness all over the world.
You guys, I need to talk to you about something super serious, and it's this right here, like burning the American flag. It's just, wallahi, it's a beautiful sight, but it's not enough. We need to burn down every capitalist and imperialist system that exists. We need to burn the US government, aka global terrorist organization, down to the fucking ground.
I don't think the Great Replacement theory was some grand design by evil people sitting in the East. No, I think the West genuinely thought, we have a labor shortage, our people are not making enough babies, let's go to our former colonies, and because we colonize them, let's give something back by accepting them and treating them as equals. Britain took in a lot of migrants from its former colonies like India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. France took them in from Algeria and other former colonies. It was seen as a kind of reimbursement, a win-win situation. But what they didn't know, that one day they would become so influential that they might be able to eat them from the inside. So now 7% of Britain is Muslim, 10% of France is Muslim, and these people are challenging the very fabric of these societies. 3 generations later, they have no respect for their new country. They don't see themselves as British or French. They burn the Union Jack flag. They beat up people who wear the Union Jack flag or show their Britishness. They didn't know that this was going to happen, but once they saw it around 2015, they realized they could exploit the situation. I remember when Arab Spring happened. People in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Muslims from all over the world, they were so happy. They were like, yes, finally, Muslims are standing up to their brutal dictators. But when things went sideways, they blamed the West. And then they headed to Europe. That was the time for the Western world to say, no, we are not changing our immigration laws for your problems. We'll use water cannons, rubber bullets, whatever it takes to keep them out. But they didn't. They didn't deter them. I remember in 2015 or 2016, there was a child who had washed up on shore after fleeing Aleppo. That image broke the internet. I got emotional too, and I thought, yes, these kids deserve another chance. And I don't blame the Western public for opening their hearts and doors and saying, okay, let's take them in. That's why there wasn't much pressure on the governments at that time to enforce their immigration laws so strongly. Everyone who advocated for taking them in did it out of compassion. But now, I think most of those people are saying, uh-oh, we made a mistake. Not because that child deserved to die, but because we need to preserve our own values, our own social fabric. There's nothing wrong with that. Stop apologizing for your way of life, which is in contrast with the way of life of people coming in. So yes, we messed up. But it's not too late. A part of me still believes that the greatest civilization known to mankind, the one that conquered the world, the one that started the Industrial Revolution, the technological revolution, humanitarian laws, the UN, and all these things, it cannot just die off. Surely it doesn't work that way, but only time will tell. I will keep trying to alert you as a former Muslim about the dangers of this ideology. This ideology will devour you. If you think that an ideology that has been trying to destroy you for 1400 years is just going to integrate and sing kumbaya with you, then I'm sorry. You haven't awakened to the dangers knocking on your door. You are sleepwalking into your civilizational death. That's why I'll keep working. Because I know after the West, people like me have no place to go. Anyway, I hope you found something useful in my rant. I hope you like this video. I need to say that most of my videos get demonetized, so if you can support my channel, please do. You can support it by going to patreon.com/HarusSultan, or you can buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/HarusSultan. If not, then that's okay too. Just like and share this video. Until next time, ta-da. If you'd like to support my work, you can become my patron by going to patreon.com/HarusSultan, or you can simply buy me a coffee.